Okay, we are recording. Okay. Well, guys, it's good to have you all together. Looks like we have 55 this morning. I've got a lot to go over, and we are going to be using the chat this morning. So because we're over 40, we'll keep everyone muted. If you have something we want to interact, I mean, it might be best to do the chat on this particular. The settings that we have on this webinar, you can hit the space bar and talk if you need to, but we may experience some overlap. So use the chat and we'll use that as a way to communicate. And maybe Kev, you could help me watch that. Wow, I'm going to unmute you. Okay, there it is.
Yeah, I'll watch the chat box for you and point out any comments that we need to address.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, let's start off. I'm gonna share my screen and show you a couple things I've put together. You know, you might want to take notes on some of this. So we'll start up here. Let me get this situated so everyone can see it okay. And get my little drawing tool here, or spotlight. Let's use this one. Okay. So I guess first of all, you know, you probably have already started to understand on a better level about the importance of having a good mindset. We are being filled every day with a lot of bad news or heavy news or just negative information. So it's really, really important. Jim Rome actually started this. I think he's the one who coined this phrase, get bread for your head. And so I wanted to start off today talking about making sure that we set the right routine of getting, you know, good bread for our head. And although that sounds maybe cliche or kind of obvious or, you know, too simplistic, if we don't really own that, then you kind of get this residue on you, and it does build up over time, and you can find yourself kind of being paralyzed with what you're going through and trying to figure out where you're going to put your energies. You guys have heard me say before that if you improve your morning, you'll improve your life. And I think that's really true right now. And so here's just a couple of reminders of what we've talked about in previous coaching sessions, is to make sure that we have a consumption of positive, uplifting content. And that's never been more important than right now. So, you know, what would that look like? Well, you know, for me, guys, I go to my favorite TED Talks. I go to YouTube. I look at my favorite, you know, speakers. One I really like is Simon Sinek. And he actually put a video message out there just 2 days ago with his team, recorded his Zoom meeting, and talked about, you know, just the events in history that have over time, over decades, generations, and massive spans of time, how what we're going through right now is actually pretty common, and then how we address those things. So look, I just go looking for, you know, the sunshine, and make sure I get filled with that. One of the psychiatrists that I also follow had just mentioned that, you know, don't leave CNN on all day long. You know, don't leave Fox News on all day long. I mean, it's just shocking bad news all the time. So yeah, be careful of that. Exercise is a great way to reduce stress and deal with grief. My father, who's an emergency room physician, has said to me many times, he would say, son, if people would just exercise, he says, you'd probably have a cut of 30 to 40% of the visits into doctors. And that's always been true. But I think right now, you know, we certainly have the flexibility to get our exercise in. So I'd encourage you to do that. I'd like to hear some of your points on this before we change the channel on this mindset. So type them in the chat bar there. Here's another another point on, so the issue of gratitude. I said we're getting a lesson in gratitude, but if you're not careful and you don't take inventory of what you have, then it'll start to feel like you don't have much, that everything's going wrong. So this is this is channeling this energy of, I can't do everything that I used to do, but there's a lot of things that I can do. And what are those good things that I could get busy doing? What's going well? What am I grateful for? For example, I'm very grateful right now that internet and Wi-Fi work. I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for a company that put together a platform that's easy for us to get together. And I'm grateful for all the friendships and relationships we have at Berkshire Hathaway where we lift each other. Very grateful for that. And in that, I start to see sunshine, So I'd encourage you to not just skip over these things. Don't take it for granted, and get busy with your a gratitude exercise. The last point here before I go to the chat bar is when you start to help somebody else, you get fulfillment, which is better than any payday by money. So right now, it has never been a better time to call all the people that you know and just see how they are. It's never been a better time. You know how many times I'd have agents say, well, yeah, but what do I say to my center of influence? Well, right now it's really easy. It's the easiest it's ever been. It's just simply, are you guys healthy? Are you safe? Do you need anything? I just wanted to call and see how you are. It's never been easier. This is not the time to make the, who do you know who might be buying and selling? Look, they'll ask you. And when they ask you, have your data ready. Have it simple and be able to dig into some details if needed. But just call to ask them how they're doing. Yeah, go ahead, Kev.
Ramon Gomez sent an email to the senior leadership the other day when somebody had asked him how he was doing. And he came back with the most extraordinary email. He just said, I am having the time of my life. I'm busier than I've ever been. All I'm doing is calling 5 people a day that are friends and just seeing how they're doing. Exactly what you're saying. And he gave a list of 30 transactions that he thinks are going to happen over the next 2 or 3 months. Now, not all of them will happen, but he's getting that type of response. And one of them actually sent out on Neighborhood Next Door, please do not contact me. They had actually posted that they're going to be selling their house in Pine Brook.
Yeah.
And it's got a flood of realtors trying to come list the house. She said that the lady then sent out an email to everybody or on a net message on Network Next Door. Please don't bother me. I've already selected my realtor. Ramon thought it was him being pushed aside. He was then contacted by her and said, I was so impressed with you calling just to see how I was. You didn't talk about real estate. You're my agent. You're the one I'm listing with. So there's some rewards in doing that.
Yeah. So, okay, it's never been a better time. And Ramon said 5 a day. So
5 a
how
day.
many? Yeah. So how many will I do? And how will I prioritize that? And when will I get started? So there's the questions, I think, for everybody is when are we going to get started on that? And who will we call today and tomorrow and the next day? And how might I prioritize that? So guys, Brian Buffini has been saying for a long time to just take our database and go A, B, C. And put 80% of your effort in your A's. And this would be budget and time. So if you take your database, past clients, family, friends, just start dividing that A group and start from the top and work your way down. And whether it's 5 a day or 10 a day, I'll leave that up to you. But whatever you decide to do, put some accountability to it to yourself. I promise you that when your head hits the pillow tonight, if you have called at least 5 people to check on them, you'll sleep better tonight. And anxieties will start to float away. Confidence will replace it. You'll feel good about your contribution and the relationships you have. And the sun comes out and things look positive again. So, okay, so let's see what we've got in the, let's see, from Nicole. Brendan is an incredible mindset coach too. He has an amazing podcast called Brendan Show. He's my go-to. Perfect. Let's see. I find out that it's important to keep a schedule. Yes, very important, Jennifer, to keep a schedule. I can't do it every day, but outside of walking 30 minutes, right. So Jennifer's saying this is what her morning routine looks like. I learned a long time ago for me that I can't exercise after work. I was just, it didn't work for me. Some people can, I can't. The first thing I do in the morning is put my running shoes on and go exercise. That's the first thing I do. And then while I'm running, I'm listening to something good. I'm doubling up. I'm listening to something positive. In previous coaching classes, I talked about bad, good, better, best. And when it came to what I was consuming in the morning, I had to get rid of Rush. And Rush is amazing. But Rush was not as good as hearing one of my mentors coach me in the morning. So I had to make a sacrifice, make a decision on what would be best for me. And if I could give up Rush while I'm running, come on, we can all do this, right? So, okay. So I like these. Brian Buffini has a great podcast. Thanks, Trish. Greg, thanks for your tip. And Kristen. Yeah, Michael says he gets up and gets dressed, has a normal day. So Matt, you guys might know Matt Townsend. He's a psychiatrist, and he said, "Hey guys, get up and get dressed for your spouse." So, not yeah. So, Tammy and I had a little discussion about that, and so the next morning I laughed because she looked like she was going to the office, and so was I. So I think that was a good kind of funny recommendation. I noticed. Thanks for all the input there, you guys. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to show you something else here.
Hey, Jennifer, just look up at the chat thing there. There's a whole bunch of really good resources people have posted, things to listen to while you're working out and showering. I'm not sure about showering, but whatever floats your boat.
Sometimes the best ideas are there, but I mean, if you take a 45-minute exercise, and I don't know, for me, a 10-15-minute shower, and then a 15 minutes to prepare and eat a healthy breakfast, you're talking about over an hour. So you've got an hour of time every morning that can be filling you with positive, good things for the day. And I think that's a great way to get our mindset positive. Okay, I put together just, let's go back to screen share for a sec. And I'm going to fly through a couple of points really quickly. Let me get a running start at this. We're going to start talking about tracking buyer activity. So we're going to try to get out ahead of this. Yesterday on sales meeting, I thought the wisdom in the stats were the sample size is too small to get too much of a prediction, right? Everybody heard that? Came right from our captain, right? That was the wisdom of it, which is odd to say, well, the data points are not long enough yet. Well, to get out ahead of this, we might start talking about buyer activity and how to track it, because it starts showing trends when everything starts to turn back on. Right now, we're still locked down and stay-at-home phase. Well, I wanted to make sure that we understand, don't trust this data as a complete picture of what buyer activity is, because buyer activity is happening online, which means now all of us listing agents, you're going to have to start giving reports on online activity, because you're not going to be seeing, the physical on-site showings. And when you're going to take a listing, it's important to remind our seller that we're going to be seeing how the market responds by watching online activity more than we ever have, at least in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm teeing up and teasing a class here. The next marketing class next Wednesday will be on how to check buyer online activity in 3 places: the Zillow agent dashboard, our syndication platform, and Spotlight.
Will, did you mean the next coaching class next Wednesday? Because marketing's on Friday.
Oh, well, Joe is telling me Wednesday.
No, it's 11:30 on Friday for the marketing class. Is that what
Okay,
Jamie?
you know what? I think he's, I'll tell you what, we'll do it in coaching then.
Okay.
Okay, because Joe, I think Joe has got his, I asked him this morning, I said, you know, can you cover this? If so, I said, I'll remind everybody about it. And he said, sure, next Wednesday.
Perfect.
Okay, so we'll do a deeper dive into that next week on how we check Zillow agent dashboard, our syndication platform, and then Spotlight. Okay, so some of you, Wasatch Front MLS is starting to show showing time activity. Again, I'm reminding everybody, don't trust this as the full picture. Although it's a slice of the pie, you know, it's a little slice of the pie. It does show scheduled showings using this vendor, and you can see that it's starting to trail off. I looked this morning. It looks like it's to be flattening right here. This is April 5th, but it did look like it's flattening out, and that's to be expected. If this were anything other than a stay-at-home order from the government, we'd be freaking out, wouldn't we? But we've been told by our governing entities not to have these showings when possible and to try to use other means. Now, we still can have showings. I'll talk about that in a second, but I wouldn't get too worried about this. This is just a reflection of everybody staying at home right now physically. Okay. All right. That brings me, anything on the chat, Kev? I can't unmute you for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Nothing else on the chat that I can see there. Eric Jensen just said watching weekly under contracts is a good indicator of current activity, but that's even further downstream. What Will's talking about is looking at online activity that happens before showings, before under contracts.
Yeah, guys, I'm trying to get us ready for, phase 2 and 3 of this. So when the good news starts to happen, where we start to see more showings, we're able to, we're practiced already at that. The under contracts, though very, very healthy right now, are really a reflection of activity 4 to 6 weeks ago, right? I mean, we know that. That's what, you know that in your own business, that what you're doing right now won't pay you for 8 weeks to 12 weeks from now, right? So we're still seeing that. That's why the first quarter looks so good. And that's why Steve Roney was saying our sample size is not large enough to give too much of an indication of what the future holds. So, okay, I want up on the screen here, I thought it'd be a good idea to remind everyone about where you could go right now when inventory levels are low. So I wanted to remind everybody of what off-market is. The off-market status, I've talked about this before. I know it's a little repetitive, but if you could just remember, this is my good shadow inventory. That means it's a mixed bag of active and COVID delayed. So if you're having a hard time finding, something, say, for a buyer to look at, you got to go to more than the actives. You're going to need to go to the off-market status and sift through that and contact that agent and find out whether they're COVID delayed or are they about to be active. The next one is the withdrawn. The important thing to remember here is there's still a listing agreement in place. Now, they've said they've decided to no longer sell their property. But if I had to look under rocks, is what I'm saying here, if you need to look under rocks, you might reach out to this group too. The last one is the canceled status. And think about this one as our old expired listing status. This is a listing agreement that is terminated, is no longer valid, but they didn't sell, right? So these sellers may be considering later. So this is a good place to maybe reach out and see if these sellers might be, you know, again, was this COVID related? Should we check back in June, July, or August? And be sensitive as a teammate here. If these are Berkshire Hathaway listings, please make sure that you talk to that listing agent in our company before you reach out to any sellers. Okay, that's being a good teammate. Okay. Okay. Any questions on that one, Kev?
No. Eric again was just kind of, Eric Jensen was just saying, even if they started looking 4 to 6 weeks ago, the contracts were still written after the shutdown. So he was just commenting that there's still pretty good activity going on. And that's really true in the Salt Lake market and the Wasatch Front. Up here, it's a little slower simply because we're, 50% investment properties and resort town. And those people just aren't here. You guys at least still have all your people. We don't.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think what Eric is talking about, and even for Park City, just to get a, this is, let me see if I can find it really quick, guys. So here's our actives. Inventory still low over the 4 years. You can see that. Let me switch the screen. I want to make everyone dizzy here. Here's our under contracts. Look how close we are to last year. This is this is the WFR MLS, guys. That's the entire MLS. So
that does include Park City, but it's a small portion of it.
That's right. It's not everybody.
We're probably dragging that number down a little bit as opposed to what the Wasatch Front's doing.
Yeah, it's just interesting that it's not that far off. I mean, the black being this year, we were ahead of schedule. We did drop down to last year's levels, and now we're back up. So I think that there's a lot of, there's some good indicators. I don't think it's too reflective of what the next 90 days will be, but we'll keep watching it.
Hey, here's just a little silver lining right here. All you guys from Salt Lake, if you're having trouble finding inventory there, come up and take a look at Summit County. There's quite a bit available on the Wasatch Back, and there's no buyers here competing with them here. So bring them up.
Yeah. Weren't we already trending kind of that way because of the lack of inventory up here in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
As far as
we actually have a little more inventory than the Wasatch Front does right now.
Yeah. It's a good point, Kev. Okay. Any questions in the chat bar? I don't want to forget it. I'm going to move on to the next and fly through a lot of this so we can get to our new norm discussion. No? Okay, here we go. So, well, I didn't want to forget the virtual open house. If you did not take Jamie and Joe's recorded Zoom, or if you take that live, it is recorded. It's on the internet. So make sure that you go find that and watch it, because I think that one is going to stick with us, guys. So be prepared to know how to do virtual open houses. Okay. Quick, I did bring this up in sales meeting. The division has not changed the CE hours. Let me just check my calendar really quick, guys. I think we could announce that we have a CE class scheduled for contract law next Friday, the 17th, 2 hours of CE. It will begin at 10:30. So if you want to make a note of that, I'll send an invite out. We just scheduled this yesterday. It was actually quite a process, but the Division of Real Estate had to send out very specific guidelines on how to conduct a Zoom live CE class. So I'll be sending out those guidelines for participants. It's 2 hours of core CE. Please make a note of this, though. It's possible that some of you may have already got credit for this. So you're going to, and you can't get it again. I mean, you can still come to the class, but you just won't get the CE credit. So I think it's a small percentage of you. I don't think it's very many, because it's a reflection of the 2-year cycle. You can't get it twice in a 2-year cycle. And we did teach this last year to some of you, not everybody. So go on to Realms and see if you had the 2 hours of core CE contract law. If you did, then you would not be getting CE credit for it again.
Well, there's a course number for that, right? And that's how you tell if you had, because they won't let you get credit for the same course number twice.
That's right. I guess if you took a contract law class from somebody else and it was still called contract law, yeah, I don't have the course number, but you guys could email me. We could, get down to the nitty gritty on that. I don't think it's going to affect more than maybe a dozen folks at the most. So I think most on this call will qualify for that. So next Friday, 10:30 to 12:30, contract law core CE. Okay. Let me break from rule and law for a second, and let's go to.
Hey, Will, while you're changing there, I'm just going to mention too, we've had several of our agents that have had trouble getting fingerprinted because of this whole COVID thing. We've also had agents whose license were expiring. They've been able to call the division and actually get extensions. So we have 3 agents right now that were extended a full month with the division. If you're coming up for renewal right now, the division granted a 30-day extension to their license. So you have to go ahead and extend your license. You can't just ignore it and just keep operating without a license, because once it expires, you're no longer able to practice real estate unless you have that extension. And they sent that extension to us as a broker, so we knew that. So you're safe to practice.
Yeah, great point. I did hear that they were considering doing that. Just another side note too, if anyone's trying to get a real estate license right now, they can't take the test. Or they want a broker's license, they can't take the test. Yeah. So they're looking at all these individual, situations, but it's good to see, the adjustments being made on a variety of different fronts right now, including our division. So yeah, you know what? Everything's a moving target every day. It's never been more important to stay connected to what's going on in real estate. So, it's, I still keep coming back to the quote I saw, or the meme I saw on Facebook. It said something like, boy, yesterday, that was a long year. So, cause it, the last time I studied this much content was like a college exam, so it's moving all the time. Okay. Thanks for that, Kev. Okay. I'm going to go back. So let me ask you guys a question about, let's use the chat bar, maybe keep these answers kind of simple, but I'd love to hear your input on something. So here's the question. What are the new norms going to be? So we've had these unprecedented events in human history happen a few times, and coming out of those, there were always things that stuck, that never changed. Some things went back, some things didn't. So let's keep it real estate specific. But what do you think that we're already changing? We already brought up the Zoom meetings with brokerages. So we already talked about that one, but I'd love to hear, what do you think the new norms are going to be? And why don't I just share them as you put them out there? So Jenny said no more handshakes when meeting clients. I think there's going to be some people who really, I think that's true. A new norm. I have 3 leads from my YouTube channel. Wow. Found me hashtags, which has nothing to do with real estate. He said he watched all of my IGTV videos of energy personality. Wow. So people are doing their shopping online to connect with the real estate agent. So video is where it's headed. And we've heard that before. Thanks, Nicole. Kevin, you're putting in marketing is going to a brand stat. Oh, okay. Answering that other question. Okay. Jeff said video and Zoom calls and Skype for communication. Let me run with that one too, Jeff. we talked about this in sales meeting. If you don't already as an agent have some kind of an account for Zoom or whatever platform you want to use, I think right now we're using Zoom because it just was easier, but you need your own account and you need to be able to understand how to be a presenter. Now we're going to put classes together for this using that, but I think just remember that, and this is our biggest takeaway, I think, today, and thanks for bringing that one up. What, tens of millions of people right now are doing what we're doing. Tens of millions, okay? If they weren't real comfortable with it before, they're comfortable with it now. And so when we engage them as buyers and sellers, listing presentations, buyer, presentation meetings that we typically would want to do in person, well, those are going to be done over this platform. So the difference in being the visitor and the presenter is big. There's ways you can show items, circle them, highlight them. And so it's important, I think, for all of us as agents to understand how to do that. So maybe that's a task for today. Look into getting my own Zoom account, practice how to do a presentation using Zoom, because our buyers and sellers are going to expect that. I think that's going to be a norm. Yeah, go ahead, Kev.
In the chat there, Kevin Murray's just talking about the security concerns over Zoom. So you know, when you have a free Zoom account, everybody can have a free Zoom account. And what you do is you, send the link to someone. Anyone else could actually jump on that. So it is not secure and encrypted. So the paid accounts are encrypted. My son's a therapist at the VA hospital. He works with the veterans that are having PST. He does his sessions over Zoom with patients. So it's HIPAA certified if it's a paid account. If it's not, it's subject to being hacked and people could come in and listen to your conversations or all of a sudden jump into the room and start interfering like the politician did you heard about on TV. She was using a free Zoom account to hold a town hall meeting, and of course, somebody jumped in there and started presenting pornographic images in the middle of the meeting. So that's what happens with a free Zoom account. The security is good on the paid accounts because it's actually encrypted and there's a password to get into it.
Yeah, Joe Lowry did, and Joe, our CTO did additional research on this too, guys. I think we're safe when you buy them. And then the other safeguard is to not click on links in the chat room. So because that's where they're getting control. So, but I think this is the future. Let's see what other norms we've got. Where did we leave off? Let's see, video. Especially better away from the offset. Kristen, I think a lot of companies are going to realize their commercial leases may be wasted as expense. Yeah, I think I heard from a good friend of mine the other day, the last thing you want to own right now might be commercial real estate. It's certainly being tested, isn't it? I mean, the survival of commercial space, the value of it is being tested right now. How much value do we put on those live in-person meetings? There's value there for sure, but it is being tested. I think the end of that result will come soon. So, look, we have 71 people on this call right now, 71. As far as just a typical, weekly coaching, I don't think we've had more than 35 to 40, right? So, and this has been consistent across every time we hold a meeting. Like Kev said, Wasatch back, we've basically been about 130 for sales meetings.
Yeah. And
you can't fit 130 people. I'm at the old mill office right now because there's no one here, you guys. But you can't fit 130 people in this room over here.
Nor can we fit that many in the basement of Saddleview. We had 100
or Park.
Right. Yeah. So it's really and some of them, like you can see Jill and Spence, there's 2 people there. So that's one, that counts as one. So there's yesterday, and then Debbie and Jonathan are together. So when you count up all the doubles, think about that. We were way over 136 yesterday. A lot of people are being reached that never attended before.
Right. Good point. Okay. Go back to the question. What are new norms? So we've decided that video conferencing, video meetings will be a new norm. So then our action item is to get my own account and start practicing being a presenter. So what are the new norms going to be, guys? What do you think? We have, and handshakes are now not going to be the, a way we greet somebody. I think that's a keeper. What else?
Air hugs.
Air hugs will be what we do. Okay. Hey. Okay. Great. Anybody else? Put your answer in your chat.
Or press your space bar and you can talk.
Yeah. New norms. What do you think they're going to be? Yeah, Kara's saying, I hope we still have face-to-face meetings sometimes. Virtual is not the same. It isn't. You're right. You're right. I mean, we miss each other, but there are some good that is coming out of this. Yeah, I think well, okay, fill in the blank for me. This business is all about blank. What is it? Yeah, very good. Relationships, people. So we can't ever forget that. And so then we say, well, then how do I build relationships? Well, I'm there for people. And sometimes being there is physically there. Since we can't physically be there, then the next best thing is a phone call. And meetings like this is as good as we're going to get right now. And it's good to see your faces. And your clients are going to want to see you. And now they're going to be comfortable with it. They're going to be comfortable with a video chat as they go over what their concerns are.
Get comfortable with FaceTime showings like Allison just pointed out.
Right. Good. So a new norm, Jenny, I think you might be talking more to your clients over phone and call and text and chat. I think that's true. I think we're already, you guys might even recognize this about yourself. Have you ever called someone, they don't answer, but then they text you back? Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever emailed somebody, you get crickets? So then you text them and then they text. So what are they telling you? They're telling you my preferred method right now is text, right? And if they call you, they're telling you, I would like a phone call, so we're going to pay attention to that. This has already been going on for a while, but this environment is emphasizing video chat right now as a new comfortable norm. Let's see, there will be people who still want personal touch. I think that's very true. FaceTime, iPhone, Android. Yeah, I mean, you might want to say if you have it, you can FaceTime over an iPhone, but that means they've got to have an iPhone. That's a good reminder to make sure that, if we're going to use that medium.
There's lots of other apps like WhatsApp or actually Skype that can be doing that too, back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to, let me show you my list, you guys. And I'm working on putting this out to everybody. Let's see if it gets our minds going a little bit more on what new norms might be. So to get a running start at this, will there be new norms? Yes. We've had unprecedented events in history before. Not that this is 9/11 and not that this is 2008. Those are just unprecedented events. So let's be careful when we do comparisons that we don't say, look at real estate data in 08, 9, and 10 and say, oh, it's exactly the same. Although mentally it may feel the same, it's not the same. But 9/11 gave us TSA, 2008 gave us the Dodd-Frank Act, and the U.S. right now is already committed to over $6 trillion to fight this virus. Things are going to change. Things are going to be new norms. We already hear people of having fear of gathering in large groups, even after this is over. And that may or may not be the case for some people, but we're going to have to be sensitive because it will be for some. It may not be for you, but it may be for some. So let me show you my first one down here. You know, we talked about doing things like pre-inspections or getting your home ready to show, getting the, you know, it tour ready. Well, let me suggest this, that getting it ready is going to mean having it cleaned and staying clean. And that may stick. That may be something that we find doesn't ever go away. So when we say things like the home is ready to show and it's show ready, it's open for showings, this new lingo that we're starting to use, we're trying to say to somebody, it's been clean, it's a safe environment. If we can't communicate with confidence that the environment is safe, then people just won't come. They'll be reluctant to, right? All right, you like that one? Okay,
yeah. Hey, Jason Sanford just pointed out something on the chat. He says,
yeah.
Anyone else notice a huge spike in the number of people who open your newsletter and click through? Out of marketing resource, I was at 42% of my SOI this month, actually opening and reading. Several clients who have been radio silent for years, in some cases, open the newsletter. Very encouraging. So people have more time at home and they're actually paying attention because they're starving for information.
Yeah, and they're starving to hear from you, you guys. They trust you. You're the person they know. You know, they can get the news feeds, but they want to hear from you. You know, I mean, so I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you. Let's do another one. Sellers are likely to vacate showings to have people be more comfortable in coming, so they're not gathering there. They're likely to go through a process of cleaning the home after. So you think about, I mean, we do things like closing gifts. Well, you know what? We might find ourselves with things like listing gifts or listing packet, right? Where we go, here's some gloves, here's the booties, here's the Clorox wipes, and here's the process. We may see this as a new norm, and it may stay. I would even submit that there might be third-party companies that are hired to do this, especially if there was somebody in the home that was tested positive. So we're a little ahead of this. I'm just saying these are kind of like having fun with, remember the question was, what's the new norms? And I'm just playing around with what I think and what I've seen. And that may be the case where we start seeing people hire third parties to confirm that it's been cleaned. We already talked about our client and presentation interactions by video platform. Our takeaway there is that make sure you have your own Zoom account and you know how to be a good presenter and practice that. I'll present, I just thought something else. I'll predict that the marriage between document housing and video presentation tools will become the new norm. So Dotloop and Zoom, here they are, separate platforms. Watch what's going to happen. These companies are either going to go like this in our industry, they're going to automate together, or they're going to be one. Because what's going to happen now is that I'm going to have a lot of my presentations over video, and I'm going to show a document like a buyer-broker agreement. And as I go through and show and teach them and highlight what I'm talking about, and it asks for an initial, they'll be able to initial. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. Because this is going to be what we do in the future. Please don't read that I don't think we're ever going to go to the house again. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. We're still going to go to the house. But there's a lot of people who are going to say, hey, how come I can't do this from Lake Powell on my boat and still buy a house? Right? Tyler's like, dang right. That's what we're talking about. So, 10, 11, 12, all very much what we already talked about. Oh, here's another one. This has already come up before, but you know what? The new world is bringing it to light. So I go to present a house. It's got 4,800 square feet. it has 4 bedrooms and 4 baths and a 4-car garage, and the Wi-Fi speed is. It's gonna be a big deal. Because what's more frustrating than coming on a Zoom meeting and your Wi-Fi is jittery, and that's now how you conduct your business. And maybe your wife is doing the same thing in another room, in another office, and she's on a video conference, right? So I think we're going to see that is going to become a new norm.
It may become a inspection item, or a disclosure item where you actually are, checking off that you have high-speed internet and what speed. I don't know. It's something that's really important for people that work from home or now who are being forced to do all their business from home.
Yeah, and you know what? If your listing already has great internet and it can, it can be documented, you can get the data from a third party, right? Then there's no reason for you not to market that as a great feature, because that's going to mean that could be a deal breaker for 2 people who are working from home now, and not just in the COVID world. It's going to be this is all into fall and next year and the years to follow, right? It's going to be a big deal.
Your provider should have a separate website that actually will tell you what your speed is.
Yeah. I mean, companies who are ahead of this are going to want to say, Jeff, right? They're going to say, we're the best, right? Stay with us. Or this neighborhood or this project or PUD. I mean, they're going to want to say what it is. And then we need to take and run with that like any other positive feature, like a view or a deck or, main floor master, whatever that it is. Good point. Okay. Want to do a few more?
Hey, Will, Heidi just asked if we could make all these documents that you're showing on here available via email, and the graphs and everything too from Ron Eichers. So I think that's a good idea. He's recording this, so you can actually send out the recording to everyone that was on here.
Yeah, good point, Heidi. I'm still working on a couple of things too with marketing. I'll next week. I mean, a lot of you are familiar with our business binder, that we've had before, and I've made a goal to go through all these pages and have them redone and reworked. There's 11 chapters here. I mean, there's a good 200 different pages of coaching, listing, buyers, overcoming objections, prospecting, planning. It's all in here. And what I want to do for the next coaching is have these already sent to you, and then we'll go through them on the screen. So stay tuned for that for next week. Good point, Heidi. You read my mind. I'll just do a couple more. I think builder, home design is going to be affected by this. I'm surprised it hasn't already. But having secure delivery areas at an entry of a home where boxes and things are dropped off, I think you're going to start seeing people contemplate how do they solve a problem of deliveries and having them be secure. And that's probably a keeper too.
Eliminate the porch pirates.
Yep. I think, I've had some fun with some other stuff. I talked to some friends of mine and they're like, I think there'll be laws passed where employees, if they're sick, they could call, they call in without demotion or lack of pay. That there may be laws about this. We'll see how that goes. Large gatherings may have to refund tickets and things like that. We'll see how that goes. These are just kind of me having a little bit of fun. But the things we talked about here, guys, I think we just need to get out ahead of this and make our adjustments now so that we can continue to be the leader in the real estate world as we've addressed what the new norms are likely to be. Hey. Okay. Now let's go back to some. Kev, is there anything in the chat bar before I turn the channel? I'm going to talk about some.
Great home office space may become even more valuable with home designs. And all of a sudden it jumped up there, and there's a great big long Oh, Jason Sanford, include this link in my newsletter. It's a social distancing scoreboard website using cell phone GPS data. That's interesting. Shows how well people are doing it staying at home all over the country. It shows that Summit County is getting a B versus the rest of Utah, which is a D. Yay, us.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks, Jason. Let's see, Jenna, let's see, I heard a new normal might have less discount brokerages. They need the quality companies to present their properties. So that's a great one, Jennifer. That's what we're hearing as well.
Hey, Kev, let me speak on that one. Remember, we've been talking about this for years. Your discount models are born and thrive in seller markets. As soon as it gets tough, days on market or other challenges, it's really tough for them to simplify everything because it's not simple, right? So this is a great opportunity for us to rise to the top and answer those complex questions that our buyers and sellers are going to have. You can't cookie cutter it. You can't rinse and repeat it. You can't put a technology algorithm to it and have it kick out an answer to a simplistic equation. Not going to happen.
I saw that Redfin was laying off like 41% of their agents. And it was like, I thought the word layoff was kind of funny for laying off agents, but
well, their model was to pay them a base salary, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, this is my 30th year, you guys. And I just don't see a better model and a better brokerage. We've got so many great things going on for us, amazing owners, good captain, great brand, excellent leadership and staff, and experienced agents with just so much information to share with each other. It's just I just can't imagine a better environment, to do real estate in. If people are serious, agents are serious about doing business, then this is a magnet for that, and because our clients are going to expect some high level, physician level wisdom, that they want the doctor's answer, not the technician's answer. Right? So that means it puts pressure on us to understand the reason, the why, the wisdom, the purpose behind it all, like a physician can tell you, and not just what the test showed, not just what the data is.
Yeah, we're sending out these stats up for the Wasatch Back every Friday, and as I know they're going to be doing as well for the Wasatch Front.
Yeah.
Don't just forward those stats to your clients. At the bottom, we'll actually have some takeaways, some things that you should use in explaining those stats, or something that you could put in there that is that wisdom when you're presenting that. That'd be like going to the doctor and, they do some tests and just comes and hands you the results and expects you to interpret them.
Right.
It's not exactly what you were paying for, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I never assume that they understand it, you guys. They don't know what days on market mean. They don't know what percentage of listings sold mean. They don't understand under contracts daily or things like that, or they just don't understand what all that is. You're going to have to explain it to them and simplify it. Very good point. Look, we're already to 11:30. The time has flown by. I wanted to talk about one law. I had about 6 different points on laws. I'm just going to pull out the main one. It has been really amazing to see us combine our Wasatch Front and Back in a coaching session and have, right now our participants are 72. I really do appreciate you guys contributing. You make a difference when you're on these calls, and what you say matters. Coming from, an instructor's point of view, I'm telling you, you guys change how these coaching sessions go. If you were on the fence about being here or joining or not, I'm telling you, when you contribute, it changes how things go. So I really, really appreciate you taking the time and being a part of this coaching sessions we do every Wednesday. So let me come back before we adjourn. I'll give you just a point that came up on what's changing in law right now related to COVID. Let's go down to Oh, well, hey, stay tuned on something. We may get a hold harmless agreement. We're talking about that. UAR is talking about that. That's this first one right here. So stay tuned, guys. We're analyzing. We don't want to over lawyer it, but we do have an issue, and it ties into what I'm going to talk about with this question right here. Okay, number 7. If your seller has COVID-19, does that mean the property is stigmatized under the stigmatized property statute? And the answer is no. The reason why is it's not like another sickness. It's because the virus, as I've highlighted here, can spread through touching of surfaces. So this is why I said a new norm is going to be cleaning the house. But we also have the issue of disclosing if there's somebody there. So if you have somebody or know of somebody who's been in the house, could have touched something in the house, you have to disclose that. It's not protected under a stigmatized property statute. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it says here, look, without divulging the name of the person, yes, that's okay. You don't have to say who. You just have to say that there was someone in the home if you're aware of it. That has to be disclosed. Okay. So if there's any questions about that, you can chat with me. I do want to keep these to an hour, guys. I don't want to go, over. You're welcome to hang out for a minute if you want to. So feel free to hit me up after if you want. Again, I want to tell all of you, it's an honor and a privilege to be associated with you all. I consider you dear friends. I love what you stand for and how you work and your discipline and your effort and the way you love people. It's inspiring to me. What you do matters every day. You can lift someone. Please don't miss this opportunity to be there for someone when they need you. I've said before, but remember my analogy of the running coach at the Salt Lake Marathon? He was on the bus to the starting line. He had a racer in the event. He was hoping they win it. He ended up placing 4th, by the way, but he was the coach. And he went to the starting line, but he didn't stay there. He ended up going down to Dameron Valley, which is the steep part of the run at the St. George Marathon. It's about 4 miles uphill. He went to the hardest part of the run, and he was there for his runner. Please don't miss this opportunity to be there for somebody. It'll make a difference in their life, and guess what? It'll make a difference in your own. Just call them and love them and ask them how they are. Don't miss this opportunity. It'll be in our rearview mirror soon. So now is the time to do that. Put yourself to work, and you'll sleep so good tonight knowing that you lifted and lightened someone's life today. Please know I love you all. I'm proud of you. Thank you for joining me. I hope, was this worth your time today? Okay, good. Well, I'll keep.
Well, a couple of people have asked if there's still a 1 o'clock Wasatch Back coaching. You've chose to combine them so that we can get this done a little more efficiently for the coaching session. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're combining them, guys. I think it's good for us all to come together for a variety of reasons. We'll keep it that way. If it's too disruptive for anybody specifically, just reach out to me. But I'll see you again next week at 10:30. And for those on the Wasatch front, Kevin and Craig will be doing their call tomorrow at 10:30. Okay.
Right. That's the broker.
Okay.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
you guys. We'll see you.
Yep. Also on the Wasatch Back, we have the broker roundtable at 1 o'clock. We can talk a bit more market specific about Wasatch Back tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Yep.
Tomorrow. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. See you guys. I'll end the meeting in about 5 minutes. If you want to hang out for a sec, that's okay. Hey, Joel, good to see you. Good picture, Phil. I guess Kevin's already signed off. Tyler, you don't have any idea where they're going to open our boat ramp back up, do you?
I do not. Not soon enough, though.
Yeah. My boys were pretty disappointed. We can't go down there next. We were going to go down on the first week of May, but I doubt it'll be open by then. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end the call. Bye, Michael.